Welcome to the Angry Ewok channel. This is a Armada-based video today, and it's aimed at trying to dissect a situation that I was in a couple nights ago on Vassal. I was playing a gentleman from Canada, had a great time with him, good game. The log file was cut short, so I do not have the log file. That would make this a lot more clear, but I wanted to bring this point out to you guys. And so what I did was I took some of my ships and recreated the situation as best I could from memory, and wanted to break down what happened in that, actually in the turn 6 of our game, the closing salvo, and just to emphasize how important it is to play through the end of the game and to understand what the score is and understand what is at threat and what is not in threat and how to try to mitigate that. Typically, the first thing I look for in a turn is where my firing angles are. What can hit me, what cannot hit me, what range that's at. And so at the start of turn 6, you evaluate what can hit what. And so this picture kind of depicts that. And what you'll notice is that my assault frigate has, by the very slimmest of margins, a double arc on the side of this flotilla, which has already taken one bump. So he's on 2 cards. He's got 2 cards remaining, not one. So that flotilla is in reasonable danger from my assault frigate, both from the bump from it and the bump potentially from the red flotilla above it. So I really don't have to kill it outright. I have to hurt it enough to get one card on and then bump, or try to bump with my assault frigate and my flotilla. Or if I can force that flotilla to activate early, it's running at speed 1, so it's probably not going to bump, but it kind of has to concern itself with the CR-90 of its own fleet in front of it. Also, you'll notice that the CR-90, the enemy CR-90 on the bottom of your screen, has a blue range. I believe it had a double arc on my assault frigate. Not really relevant because my assault frigate had been untouched. It was ignored due to the fact that it was an Agate assault frigate with salvo, and he had a lot of small MSU ships, and they didn't want to eat a double salvo plus a bomber wing. So not really a relevant concern because he's probably not going to take that shot this late in their game. He's not going to kill an assault frigate with a double arc. But that also emphasizes the flak range of that blue dice flak CR-90B. On the right side is the most concerning issue. My poor little hammerhead, who's got a shield on his left side remaining, a shield on his back remaining, and taking a card already, is probably in a bad way. He is pinched in between the CR-90 on the bottom and CR-90 to his right. I expect him to die under the guns of the assault the CR-90B to the right. He's got a blue range double arc and probably a comm fire keyed up because he can pretty easily move and get out of threat of my assault frigate and the majority of my bomber wings, such that I couldn't bring him down in one turn. Interestingly, in the interest of preserving points, I'm concerned about the flak implications for my bomber wing. There's an X-wing that's between the enemy flotilla and the enemy CR-90B. He's sitting on 1 hull point. Odds are good that if one of those 2 ships is chosen to activate, he'll go down to flak. I have no way of really, redirecting that damage. I could take it on Biggs, who's right beside him, but doing that would then expose Biggs to a shot that could potentially kill him as well, and Biggs is way more expensive, not something I'm going to do, not going to save him that way. Also, there's an X-wing up top with 3 hit points, but he's not going to be in range to accept that damage, so it's not really a good. The only way to save that X-wing is really to get him the heck out of there and not get shot at by either one of those ships. So he might be a lost cause. My other 2 ships, Biggs and Jan Ors, they are in danger of getting hit with the flak from both the flotilla and the CR-90B. If both of them went down, that's a pretty significant chunk of points. And so we're going to get to that in a minute. You start looking at how many points do I stand to lose, how many points do I currently have, what situation do I need to, what choices do I need to be making. But I want to bring that out as a special mention. Now, as one of the last things that I start calculating into what I want to do for the last round is I want to see, well, what can these squadrons that are far away from the fight contribute? What can they potentially add to the engagement? And you start checking your ranges, and the VCXs and the X-wing that's over there by the hammerhead, that's their effective threat range. They're going to have to move to there and then fire from that location, assuming that they even have a place to land, because my squadrons are also kind of in the way. The concern here is that if we're going to go after the CR-90, it's running speed 3 now, knowing he's probably not going to bring down the assault frigate. He might key up a Confire, but he also might key up a nav and get way past that, past the flotilla, and just flat outrun my bomber wing. So if they're going to be relevant in this final exchange, they're going to have to go early, and they're going to have to jump on that, either the flotilla or the CR-90, before they get to move too far away, because Rebel squadrons are slow. We don't have Merrick steel. Sorry, guys. Last piece of information is that the assault frigate has a squadron command keyed up for the last turn. This is something that I find a lot of times is useful playing as second player, because more than likely, if you're going to lose to a last first on the last turn, or you're going to lose to some kind of ship-based fire, usually it's the first activation that kills you on turn 6. So to me, an engineering command is usually not useful, and a navigate command is usually not useful, because that final shot is usually lined up and waiting for you by turn 6. There are very, very few times when I find myself trying to fly out of a bad hole on turn 6. I'm usually trying to just survive the final shot, and then, assuming I survive, deal as much damage as possible, which is why I strongly encourage, unless you have a particular reason, that your final command on your ships needs to be whatever deals you the most damage. A squadron command, a Confire, something that is offensive, especially as second player, because most of the time the enemy fleet is going to go with their most crushing activation first. That's a smart move. That's what they're going to do. Once that happens, if you do weather the storm, you don't want to come up short and not be able to finish finish wounded ships, or not get the dice you need to put a ship away. So I say play aggressive. I would really like to keep my last command, my most offensive command, unless there's a good reason to, particularly as second player. All right, so the last piece of information that we have to consider is this turn 6, and we need to try to maximize our points for tournament purposes, especially. So currently, and I don't always keep a laser accurate total tally of what the score is in my head. I really should. The best Armada players in the world almost always have a very, very good understanding of what the score is at all times. And the higher level of play that you play at, the more accurate that number is going to need to be. Right now, pre-turn 6, the score is 167 points to me, 78 points to my opponent. I killed 2 Peltas. Yeah, that's right, 2 Peltas. He took 2 Peltas. It was an 8 activation Akbar fleet with 2 Peltas, one with Intensify, one with Entrapment Formation. Not the greatest, craziest list in the world, but it was 8 activations. Bringing down 2 very lean assault Peltas, one of which had his Admiral on it, netted me 167 points. Up to that point, I lost a Hammerhead to a last first off of one of the CR-90Bs, which I really didn't think I could avoid because it was 8 activations on 5, and they're very fast. Also, I lost Gold Squadron and Nora Wexley to a combination of external racks and a bunch of dedicated flacking that he did a good job of trying to pull those 2 squadrons down, because you cannot let Gold Squadron and Nora Wexley under Bomber Command Center in Torn Far sit around for very long, because you're just not going to have any shields. It's just not going to work. So currently, that leaves me winning by 89 points. That puts me into the 7-4 bracket. To get to the higher bracket, it's going to be much more difficult. I need to get to a 140-point margin, which is pretty much out of the picture. So I'm really playing to keep my 7-4 at this point. Try to keep out of the 6-5. Try not to lose something big. So the thing to think about, though, is that Hammerhead is probably going down. It's a 49-point Hammerhead. If it goes down, that pulls my margin to 167 to 127. That's a 40-point margin, and dropping me in below the 60-point threshold, the 61-point threshold for the 7-4. So that's the calculus here. And this is where I make a mistake. It's not a big mistake, but it's something that I wanted to bring out just because it's a nuanced thing. Armada is such a nuanced and deep game that 1 or 2 points here and there can make a massive difference. So as expected, his first activation was the CR90B on the right side. It had a confire, double arc. The first shot triggered the heavy ion emplacements, which reduced my shields on my left side and back by 1. I didn't have a front shield, so it didn't matter. He rolled 3 and 3 on the side and the front, killing my hammerhead. Nothing I could do about it. The evade would not have done enough damage, enough difference. My redirect was useless because I had no shields. So he put the hammerhead away, and so now all of a sudden the situation that we feared has occurred, and we lost a hammerhead. So we're now sitting at 167 to 127 at that 40-point margin. Now, by activating first, he has essentially given me the jump on one of his 2 remaining ships that are in danger, the flotilla and or the CR90. And then this is where I have to start making a decision. So this is where the rubber meets the road. This activation is going to be basically the last meaningful activation in the turn unless something weird happens. My assault frigate is probably going to go because it's my most damaging ship, the only combat ship I got remaining, and it's got a squadron command. I've got an X-Wing that's in danger, and I'd like to get him out of there. And I was very concerned about pulling him out of the fire and trying to get an activation in to pull Biggs and Jan out of the fight as well. The issue with that was the points do not support that fear. At that time, I was down. I had a 40-point margin. And that X-Wing is 13 points. It's not going to change the situation. What I might have been in danger of doing is maybe if I were to lose Jan and Biggs and that X-Wing, I could lose the game. But that's pretty much the only scenario in which that plays out. So what I chose to do, I looked at where he could go, where he could escape to. And the only way to escape the CR90 is to move away from it, which puts me directly under the flak of the flotilla, which I expect to have a concentrate fire command. So I'm looking at 2 black dice, probably going to kill this X-Wing. Probably going to try to ping a damage off of Jan and ping a damage off of Biggs. And then hopefully, by the way, a Torn 4 flotilla is somewhere nearby, letting that CR90B reroll its blue dice. So it's a lot more effective now. It's a 75% chance of getting a hit. So I'm looking at 2 ships that both have a 75% chance of getting a hit, probably one of them with a confire. So the ship damage is real threatening here. What I chose to do was to see if I could get a hit on the CR90 because I'm already in range at range 1, and then I could shoot and move away. So I did that. I shot the CR90, rolled a blank, bomber command center, re-rolled into another blank, and then I bailed. And my immediate plan was, okay, well, I'm probably going to be way behind the power curve and can't get to CR90 from here. That being said, now I really, really, really want to kill this flotilla because this flotilla is going to be pretty much the thing that can kill that X-Wing and the thing that can start stacking up damage fast enough to actually kill Biggs and Jan. If I can kill the flotilla, I can prevent them from taking the flak that they are scared of and going down. So the assault frigate goes, squadron command comes out, X-Wing bombs, gets nothing, moves away. And then what I did here is I really should have moved Biggs, and I should have used Biggs and Jan to bomb the side of the flotilla. This is not Bright Hope. It will matter. They'll either scatter it or take it. And with 1 card on, he can't really take a whole lot of hits. I should have done that. But what I did was I instead went over and got the 2 members of my bomber wing that I felt like could actually get over there and participate against the flotilla. and move them in and bomb the flotilla. Should not have done that. Should have just got Biggs and got Jan out of harm's way and let the flotilla with the squadron command keyed up move those later. But that's what happened. I moved down and took 2 shots and got a pair of hits. So he ate one, he scattered the other, which is almost a death knell for the flotilla. So after bombing with those 3, the assault frigate fires the front and the side with LTT, rerolling 1 red. I was able to get an accuracy on the side shot and blow it away. Killed the flotilla. And this is really the last meaningful shot in the game, mostly because the CR-90, its blue range flak is outside of range of the X-Wing, and nothing else is in danger of dying because Jan and Biggs are under Gallant Haven, inside the Gallant Haven aura, and they have brace tokens. Unless he can do 3 damage, actually 4 damage. I don't know, 5 damage to get 2 through Gallant Haven and a brace token. He can't kill them. So they're gonna live, and we pretty much call the game here. So with the shots from the assault frigate, flotilla goes down, and that's pretty much the end of the game. That gets me 20 points, which feels great, but does nothing for me because I am now winning by 60 points. It's pretty much a wash. I still get the 6-5 that I felt like I was going to probably get at the beginning of the turn, but I saved the X-Wing from getting shot. So it's really a 20 plus 13, so it's like a 33-point swing. That's great and all. It doesn't actually make a whole lot of a difference because losing the X-Wing, I would still get a 6. So it doesn't, not a big play there. The takeaway that I want to point out is that if I had known the score exactly, there's no reason for me to go after the flotilla. I need to try to attack the CR-90B with everything I've got and just make sure that Jan and Biggs are in a single arc of the CR-90B and make sure they live. Because CR-90B has 1 blue dice flak. If he con fires, he's got 2 blue dice flak. It's the only shot that I'll take this round from him. Brace it. Go about my business. There's no way if I do that, if I just activate either Biggs or Jan and move them into the side arc, there's no way that I lose this game any worse. There's no result other than a 6-5 for me. But I didn't have the clarity to see that. I see that now after sitting and thinking about it in an after action situation when the blood is not pumping and you're not thinking about I got to kill this flotilla, I got to save this X-Wing. But that's the move to make. It's not the move I made. It's not a big difference, but sometimes it is. And so I wanted to emphasize that thinking about these kinds of things, especially in a tight game, especially against a high-level player, can be the difference between winning and losing, can be the difference between making the cut and not making the cut. That's why I love this game. This game rewards vision and the ability to see what could happen and what will probably happen and what won't happen and make a valued judgment about where you want to go with your models. Thank you all for watching. I wanted to just kind of begin with this and see if you guys like this kind of thing. I think in the future, I'm going to probably try to do log files on Vassal just because it's so much cleaner. But if you like this format, please let me know in the comments. I like having the physical models on the table. I just can't do that. I'm not local to enough people that's something I do on a regular basis, and Vassal is pretty much my biggest outlet for that. And that's okay. I'm willing to travel to go to events and stuff because I love this game. And I really want to try to support the community by putting out some new and different content that some people aren't, maybe talking about as much. So if you want to see more of this, let me know. I really want to try to encourage you to not dismiss this as very nitpicky, but actually see this as well. There's another level to Armada. There's a deeper understanding that we can have of this game.